joined today by Chris Wizner. Thank you for joining me. And Chris, I'd love if you'd introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm Chris Wizner. I'm CEO and founder of Vivid Candy. We're a marketing agency headquartered in Malibu, right next to the Malibu Pier. We've been in business going on almost 25 years, so it's been quite some time. Been doing it since I was 16. As you know, I'm definitely an entrepreneur from birth, as early as I could, but I did better with my daughter because she started at 15 months old. She's already in business. But I love what I do. I'm also a media past chairman at the Malibu Pacific Palisades Chamber of Commerce, longtime board member there, and just entrepreneur overall. I love to get involved in business.
Well, thank you. And I'd love to talk more about your business. But you know what? Let's first actually talk about family because you're quite a new father.
Oh yeah.
How's that journey? You've dived straight in.
Well, diving straight in is a great way to put it when you become a parent because that's what you do, as you know, Leah. I'm loving it, but certainly it's a challenge. Being a business guy, and I've always asked all my other fellow entrepreneurs and business friends, like that are parents too, like, how are you doing it? Because you got to balance being a dad now with being an entrepreneur. And then somewhere in between all of that, you got to find your personal time. Time to run, for example, Leah. That's a challenge, but it's all worth it. It makes, melts my heart the second I see my daughter. It makes everything worth it. You forget all the hard work you put in.
You alluded to the fact that your daughter is an unwitting entrepreneur already. So why don't you actually talk about that entrepreneurial journey, and then actually we'll go back, and I'd love to talk more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. Well, when my daughter turned about 10 months old, I convinced my wife, let's file a DBA. What harm could come from that? Because you can do it at any age. But the first thing was we had to find her passion. So, it was brewing for a few months. And, you wonder, if you have a daughter that's under a year old, what kind of business can that daughter get into was the question, Leah. And, any entrepreneurship, you chase a passion. So I'm watching my daughter closely, and I swear one of the first words she says is bubble. And she's looking at a bubble floating over her head because my wife is playing with her with bubble. She's got little bubbles that she'll blow over her. And she goes, ah. And just seeing that joy on her face and that passion, right away I knew. It was the spark was right there, that entrepreneurship spark. So I started kind of working on ideas and names, and I came down to the name was Bubble Fairy. So we have bubble-fairy.com, and we have on Instagram at Bubble Fairy World. And we kind of started it there. And then it was well, what do you do with that, Leah? I mean, you got the idea, right? The spark, bubbles. You got the brand. We built the brand. But honestly, we kind of reverse engineered this as it went. And the next thing I know, I was buying every bubble machine you could ever possibly buy on Amazon. And bubble bazookas, 360 spinning bubble machines, bubble tiki torches, you name it, I bought it. Floating bubble machines for pools. I have a whole huge stash of them. It's like a cache, but a cache of bubble machines. And we ended up, we got lucky, and we got a opportunity with the Malibu Chili Cook-Off this last summer in September. And we basically got our own event on the last day of the big event. And, there's roughly 25,000 people a day at that event, so it's a pretty good size. And on what they call Family Day Monday, we were the key event, and it was called Kids Bubble Hour. And if you can imagine, Leo, truth is, we had never done a test run. So talk about stress test, Leah. We don't know what we've signed up for, but we got the bubble machines. I hired a few of my daughter's babysitters to help because they're now the gig staff. And they went there and we gave a brief training. We kind of prepared for the best and were surprised by everything. We went to the chili cook-off, started shooting bubble machines everywhere. And next thing you know, you've got probably 4 to 10,000 bubbles in the sky all at once. Everywhere you look, Leo. And then you have kids just going bananas. And the kids, I never saw anything like this, Leo. I didn't know if they would like it or not. So just to watch this was interesting. They mobbed us. So we had a whole wagon full of the machines that the number one rule was don't let the kids play with the machines. The number one thing that happened, Leo, The kids took over the machines. And there's a certain point where Wi-Fi'd it, just go with it, see where this goes. And they're running around shooting machines, they're going nuts. We had celebrities there with their kids, and they were thanking us, and it was an absolute hit. Like the footage and social media was amazing. We also had these big bubbles that were we learned had to like learn the bubble science, Leo. So we had these big bubbles that are as big as 5 and 10 feet, and then we were originally going to make them, but the kids went crazy. It was intuitive for them to like stick these two things in a bucket and make a huge bubble that they've never known how to do. And the next thing you have these 5, 10 foot size bubbles floating down for the event, and people are just chasing them. And it was really, really cool. And since that, relatively new company. It's only been a few months. We just did a few events last week, and we did the Run Malibu Marathon. We were asked to add bubbles to the end of the kids' run, so that was really fun. If you can imagine kids running through a sea of bubbles, that happened. And the photos and the press on it and the content were amazing. And then on Sunday, we did the 25th anniversary of the Malibu Farmers Market. And we had a man on stilts dressed as a jester holding a bubble machine, and it was crazy. I actually didn't plan that part. That came from the market. But great interaction. I run with it. And since, we have a lot of opportunities. Now we have, like anytime you do something the first time, you do a few for free. And that's what we did. We knew it was kind of a test run for us. We wanted to get the content. That's how we win. We wanted to generate some business. You can't sell something you've never done and then you never have photos or videos of. But I happen to say, Leo, it's interesting. The bubble game is hard. And we actually have a bunch of paying gigs suddenly. We've had influencers hire us, other events. We're doing another marathon for Malibu Moves next on the 26th. So we're bubblifying that one. We actually got the opportunity to do not just one marathon in Malibu, but both. So that was fun. And I just picked up the Malibu Times newspaper yesterday. Interesting. We didn't get press mention on just one marathon, but both in the same newspaper about bubblifying the events. So my daughter loves it. She's the spokesperson. She's the model and creative director, I would say, is her role. And little fun fact for anyone watching this, I have a good financial reason and motivation to create my daughter this company. I would recommend it to all parents for this one reason, Leo. Now, if you want to make your daughter a multimillionaire by the time she's 18, and you didn't put one penny into that, how do you do it? And the thing is, the term is technically called earned income. And if she can earn at least $7,500 a year, the maximum IRA contribution, she can move that into a tax-deferred IRA, and it can compound for the next 18 years, making her easily a millionaire by the time she's 18, pay for her college, everything. So that was the idea behind that, Leo, is create a babypreneur who's also a bubblepreneur, and we're having a lot of fun with these words. And hopefully give her wealth that she generates on her own, and she's going to be homeschooled by my wife, so this is actually going to be her school project for the next few years, is running her company, if you can imagine. So, I've even considered I don't believe in physical or mental punishment for kids. I'm a new dad, so I'm kind of re-engineering this, Leo, into a whole thing of, I would call it a profit and loss system for punishment and rewards also. So if she does bad, she gets a great tax. Sorry, you did bad, or you had it, your human resources went over budget. There's gonna be all these fun little excuses, but yeah, that's punishment now. It's like your expense went up. You do great. Wow, you made some great profit. You threw a great event. You got some kind of tax perk or a grant or something else that you didn't expect. So it's almost like Monopoly, but for how I plan to raise my daughter. But we'll see, Leo. It's one thing talking about. It's another thing. Let me demonstrate and see how it works out.
Love that. I think it's a great. You're on a great path. And putting your daughter on a great path from such an early age. I think she'll really enjoy that. And by the time she's able to rationally think about it and talk about it, hopefully it'll be a real business that's making money, and that's exciting.
Why not? It's fun.
Yeah, and then obviously you're doing your bubbles for both Malibu marathons, Malibu and Malibu adjacent. So is that your excuse not to run the actual marathon, or are you still running them as well?
Actually, I'm aiming to run this next one. I couldn't run the Run Malibu one at the last second because I was in the middle of the first move of my life for a long time. So I had to help my family and be there for them, which tough decision because brand new route. I was eager to do it, Leo. It looked beautiful running from Point Magoo. Like, the night before, if you're a runner, if you learn your family really needs you, I had to make the call. Not to wake up at 4 a.m. and run. But I know to most people it sounds like torture, but to you and me, it's a lot of fun.
So
So
you still in Malibu?
I'm no longer in Malibu. My office is in Malibu, but I did have to move. So I'm in Woodland Hills now, and beautiful home though. I can't complain, and I pinch myself. It's a beautiful place to be and best place for my family.
Lovely. And you've still got your office overlooking Malibu Pier, so you've still got Malibu.
I think I have 1 foot in each city, and I would say it this way, and everybody in Malibu will hate this term, but I'll just say it. I'm living the Malibu life now, where Valley meets Malibu. And it's not a bad life. The Valley has a lot of great stuff. It's great for families, and the beach is always, my happy place.
That's lovely. And so going back to business, so you started your first business at I think the age of 16, or your
Exactly.
first business, your only real your only business. You're still doing it, but you started at 16.
Yes, I started and never stopped, never looked back, and loving every second.
So you've been doing it how long now?
So I've been in business, wow, since I was 16. I'm 41 now. I mean, I have to do the math. I think it's like 24, 25 years. It's somewhere around there right now, almost a quarter century, Leah.
Wow, that's a long time. Tell us more about your business.
So my business is Vivid Candy. We're essentially a 360 style full service marketing agency. We're headquartered in Malibu, but we work with everyone all across the country. I would say we can market anything, but we certainly, as any great marketing agency, have a few specialties that have just come up more than others. And, they're usually based around a passion. So, I grew up, my mom was a waitress. I grew up in the restaurant world, and I've kind of gravitated towards the other side of that. I handle probably about 150 plus restaurants and all their marketing nationwide. We have a huge concentration of them in LA and in our home court, Malibu, which is a beautiful place if you work with restaurants. We handle probably about 1/3 of the restaurants there and some of the biggest names. So, for a long time, we've handled the Sunset Restaurant, Moon Shadows Malibu, Paradise Cove Beach Cafe. We've done stuff with Broad Street Oyster, Tremonto. We handle Olo. There's a number of restaurants. I'm probably even forgetting a few, but it's been a great joy, and what better place to do it? We also work with a lot of hotels and just everything else under the sun. But really, our wheelhouse has been food related, restaurants, hotels, travel and food. It's a beautiful passion.
That's great. And now you'll be now you've got your foot in the valley. You'll hopefully be doing lots more restaurants and hotels over there as well.
We'll see. It's a different market out here for sure, but there's some really beautiful places, and I would love to do more out here. But anywhere, anywhere in LA is a beautiful place to work on a restaurant, and we're so happy with the ones we work with.
And what are you typically doing for most of your clients? Because you obviously do a lot more than just restaurants.
Oh yeah. Now, well, look, being a full service agency, we have a team of just over 25 right now. We have a specialist for just about every type of marketing activity that you could need or production resource. So we have graphic designers, web designers, video editors. We have pay-per-click specialists, SEO specialists, content developers, influencer specialists. The name goes on goes on, and account managers to manage all that. It's a good sized team. But what's really incredible, the reason why we kind of brand ourselves as a 360 agency is we can do the full 360 of services. So typically, we are the agency of record for our clients, meaning we set the strategy, we consult on all the KPIs that we're aiming to work to get to. And we measure all of that, but we also execute every part of the campaign. So it's one campaign with a synergistic effect of here's the big idea and it's been carried out. And a lot of times we'll start that by a brand guidelines exercise. So we make sure that everybody's on the same foundation. That is key. That's definitely best practice because then you're all communicating the same on-brand words, on-brand photos. You know the target personas of your demographics, and you can nail your message. It's kind of like nailing your business why. If you know all of that and you have all of those people on the 360 team really going with one big heave-ho, you can do amazing things in marketing as long as the market's there. It's a great joy for us. It's a lot of fun. We love doing it, and it's just beautiful to see the impact we can have.
Lovely. And you were set up. You moved into a new office in Malibu, and you were ready for a whole team in an office. And COVID happened. You've still got the beautiful office, which pretty much is just you now, and your team. But you've really embraced the remote work. Your team are all over the world now, aren't they?
Yes. Little story on that, I would say, is pre-pandemic, because everybody has pre and post. Pre-pandemic, we had 15, 20 people working in the office. We had a giant 10-foot beanbag. They would all socialize, and it was a very social experience to work with us, and it was very fun. There was a lot of pros, but there's also cons too, because you have people creating relationships and you don't know what happens. So from like an employer point of view, it's absolutely safer to have people in the cloud because you can reduce a lot of that. Falling, tripping, all those things, you can reduce that stuff. Although we never had a problem with that. I'm one of these worst case scenario thinkers, so I think of all the things that could go wrong and I try to plan to not have that ever happen, and luckily it never has. Then the pandemic hit, and the only people that were working really remote was me and my creative director before the pandemic, but we loved it. It was definitely like the dream was to work on a different hotel room once a week, and I did it for a while. I would work from Hawaii, and I'd be looking over beautiful bay, and I'd work in Lake Tahoe looking over the lake, and I'd work in Laguna Beach on the beach, oceanfront. So I knew that work remote can really work for us. I saw a lot of the benefits, and of course, the pandemic hit, so we sent everyone home, and immediately, there was minimal transition period for us. There's definitely a lot of things we had to do, get everybody on board with Zoom, and a little bit better process, bring back team building in different ways virtually, but we made a relatively smooth transition, and I'm really proud of it. And it opened the doors for human resources in a new way, Leo. So, the problem for us used to be being a marketing agency and being like the lone wolf, so to say, in Malibu, way 20 minutes up the coast away from LA, the bulk of human resources. To convince somebody to drive an hour each way and spend 2 hours a day commuting to drive up to Malibu, which has many of its own challenges, especially in weather, that was very difficult. Very difficult. It really it limited our human resources very much. The pandemic very much just like tore down the boundaries. So next thing we know, we had people working from New Jersey, New York, Florida, Colorado, and then all over. My marketing director, she was here. She was a college graduate of Pepperdine University. She stayed nearby Malibu, and it was wonderful. And then the pandemic hit, and she's originally from Brazil, so she, of course, she had to go back and be with family, and it displaced her. And since, she's remained out there, and it's been seamless, So our number one person, and she's absolutely incredible. She's a superstar. If anything, she might have gotten even better working remote. I don't know. She says it herself many times that she thinks she's even more efficient in the cloud. And, she's working in a slightly different time zone all the way in Brazil, and clients love her. The team loves her. She's an amazing leader. It's very borderless. The borders mean nothing. And, we also have people in Mexico and Canada that help out. And it's working really good in the cloud. But I will say, Leo, like the update, if I flash forward, right? Pandemic happened in 2020. 2020 to 2022, hardcore work remote. Everybody except Zoom. 2023, it still kind of lingered. And now 2024, I would say like the last 6 months, it's been interesting. I don't know if you see this, Leo. But I've seen a pretty strong roar back to in person and also hybrids. So we're kind of taking the best of both worlds, and a lot of people are trying different things there. Even at our agency, we're thinking of having a 1 day a week come back to the office. Plus, I got to make use of it, Leo. I got this office, and I'm not even there a lot. So we definitely want to use it. It's a beautiful space, and but that's been something we've been seeing. We've also seen, especially like in sales on the marketing side, running an agency, and the sales side. There was a sweet spot for 2 or 3 years where everybody would book and hire agencies for Zoom. You never had to commute once to meet somebody. And I did deals all across the country in all different states. Then, you flash forward to 2024, we saw a drastic drop in sales closes. And it was specific to if they were out of state. If they were out of our area and you can't meet them in person, we found that the odds dropped by about 1/4 to close that deal, because only somebody closer that can meet them in person was closing it. So we made a pivot to shift some of our marketing to be a little bit more LA metro area, and proud to say it worked. It definitely was something that the market was signaling that we responded to, and you pivot. So we always have that agile mentality, Leo. We got to go where the market is, and we got to pivot when the market pivots. That's just what we do in business.
I love that. And looking at your team now being remote, and yes, I know you're talking about going back to the office for some of it, but a lot of your team will stay remote. How do you do team building in a remote world?
Well, it's interesting, Nick. I'll say immediately it's at a disadvantage. That's a fact. People like to see people in person. I think that's never going to go away. I wonder though, we might have holograms and some other new technologies coming about, like that might change it again. But like where we are today, we very much see that there's all kinds of team building. Like we definitely do like a once a week Zoom with the entire team. And a lot of the Zoom is not business. Like literally the first 20 minutes is personal stuff, fun questions, share pictures. We post and share pictures of our dogs, our cats, when we were kids, all kinds of fun things. But anything that promotes team building and connecting among the team, because they have this word called hallway talk, and it's something that happens when you're in person, and it's the in between those conversations you have that you get to know your teammates. That doesn't happen when you're virtual. So like we have to kind of like solve that in different ways. That's one of them. We also do a lot of like one-on-one powwows, and we have these pods, we call them, where they get together and they're focused on an account or two, and everybody reports, and it's quick in and out in 30 minutes. So, we do our best in the cloud to work that way. We also have a lot of people come out and visit us at our home headquarters here. So every once in a while we get, people from different states or countries that work with us to come out and visit. We show them the best time. We bring together some of the team. We'll do a lunch. We'll do photo shoots of the team, and we just have a lot of fun. So I know next week we're doing something like that. We'll have a good chunk of the team at the office. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll be by the beach. I'm sure we'll grab some food and have lots of great conversation. But, now where we're kind of headed as an agency is we are probably going to bring back like a 1 day a week in person for the people that can travel that are nearby. It still is very important because there's pros and cons like anything, right? So like a con of working virtual is then you get a lot of people self-managing, and you don't, from a view 10,000 feet above, they might not know what you know as CEO. So they might be going down this rabbit hole, spending time on an account that's not going to make you your return on investment. So you can't see and supervise every single thing when you're away. And then process too. You can improve a lot of process by having them in the office and retrain them and train them better. So, we're kind of working into more of a hybrid, but it still leans towards absolutely work remote right now, because I don't think that's going to go away anytime. I think it's only going to improve. And as I kind of foreshadowed earlier, holograms. I mean, when we do that, we can do Star Trek level telecommuting. Then that's going to be incredible innovation, and we're not far from it. I follow that stuff separately, and we're very, very much closer than we ever thought we were.
Can't wait. Moving on to health, fitness. What do those things mean to you?
Health and fitness to me, I think it means a lot of like joy. First off, personal space, because you have to invest a lot of personal time to do those things. But it's nice. You can go run. You can go hike. I personally, like, what I try to do every week is I definitely try to swim in the ocean a few times a week. I'm lucky we have a beautiful Surfrider beach right in front of our office, and it's a skip and a hop. And I can go for a half-hour swim in a beautiful bay that's only a few feet deep and crystal clear. I open my eyes, I can see the fish underwater. It's just the way it energizes me, that it makes me feel so happy and so good to do that. Plus, it's really good for your heart. It's a great exercise. There's a lot of resistance in the water. So you burn a lot more calories than you would doing almost any other sport, just swimming. We also have a gym that's part of our office building. So it's called Kier. So quite often I'll go there, I'll work out, I'll try all the machines. I love they've got steam room. Like, I think just for like mental health too, it's nice to just slow down, take a steam, take a sauna. Like, a lot of times too, I try, not as good as you, Leo. I cannot beat your speeds right now, but I definitely love to run. And I've been an avid runner for quite some time. And my uncle's a world champion for Xterra, so I'm trying to keep up with him. He's 75 and he can still run an 8 or 9 minute mile pace, Leo, which is like absolutely incredible. And uphill with like 2,000 or 3,000 feet of elevation. I don't know how he does it. He kicks my butt every single time. I've only won twice against him, and it's a legend, but it's a friendly fire between us. It's always competition. And I love to run. I love to work out. I love it. And, for me, it's a lot of happiness. I think it's so important. I think, being in marketing, funny, because I have to speak at Pepperdine University later about this today, and this is part of that speech, but I'll mix the two, Leo. One thing people don't know is marketing is the third most stressful industry, if you Google it. And a lot of people don't know that, especially a lot of students going into that thinking it's just going to be really fun. It's first most stressful is technically doctors, next is lawyers, and then it's marketing. And I think that says a lot about our industry and how much you have to value your health and your wellness and your balance. Because if you don't focus on those things and you're all focused on work all the time, one thing I would tell anyone in the marketing space or anyone going into it is never ending work, Leah. It is never going to end. The pressure's never going to lay off. There's always a new deadline. There's always a new holiday to market. There's a new product to market. It never stops. It never takes a break. So knowing those things, not only do you have to have just thick skin and understand that's the world you're going into, manage your own expectation, you absolutely have to find time for yourself to invest in health and wellness. Because if you don't, you will burn up and blow up into a million pieces. There's no way you can be a great marketer without also having good health, good wellness, and just good work-life balance. Respect those boundaries in your life, because you can only do so much. And the older I get, I'm an old man here at 41, Leah. It's becoming a lot more important every day. And it's also a lot harder. So I really got to keep up with it. And, I personally think I need to invest even more time on it. I am giving this advice right now, and I've got to take my own advice, Leo, because I know I got to do more. But it's hard. I'm balancing being a new father, being an entrepreneur, being involved in a few businesses. It's a lot, but you got to find a way. And, there's a certain point you just put a weight on something and prioritize it. Can't do the rest without good health and wellness. You can't do anything.
Very true. And what do you like to do for fun?
I mean, a lot of that health and wellness stuff is the fun thing. But really, although I didn't mention so much in there, surfing is definitely one of the funnest things I do. I have 7 surfboards at my office. I used to be, a pro amateur surfer when I was in my earlier 30s. And I would travel up and down California and do surf contests. I won a few. It was really, what an experience. But, surfing is just this like Zen place where you go and all the noise goes silent. And all you're focused on is the beauty around you, the other people in the water around you, and they're all enjoying that. And then, obviously a wave and tracking the waves coming your way. And when you get to just, there is no feeling like dropping in on a beautifully formed wave that's going to pull a long right and go a football field's distance. And that moment where you get to stand up and pop up and then just walk on water. And then if you really get to experience it, and not many people get to this level, Leo, but when you get into the tube and you get tubed, a secret of surfing that I wonder, Leo, if you know this, there is a secret. The secret is you hear like a wind blowing noise, like as if you blow air into a bottle, that whoo kind of noise. And you hear the specific tune of the specific wave that has traveled thousands of miles. And the tune, the tone that it uses is different and unique every time, every beach. I mean, so just think about that. It's this magical connection with nature. Nobody on earth will hear that wave sing except you. And it's just a beautiful gift, that this wave has traveled thousands of miles for you to ride it. For me, it's definitely a great escape and beautiful thing. But, also for fun, I love gardening, random one, but I am an avid gardener. Gardening relates to entrepreneurship in an interesting way. You can't be an entrepreneur without vision, Leo. And you also can't be a gardener without vision. And just like gardening, you have the vision, this is what you're going to grow, and this is how it's going to look. But you have to be very patient and drop seeds and make a plan and execute it to see your vision literally come to life. And it's interesting to me, but like that very much relates to business because you definitely exercise vision. That's a top gift in my opinion you need. And then you got to execute. You got to be patient. You got to drop your seeds and watch them sprout. And you got to nurture them too and maintain them. So many little parallels there. But, and then of course, my family, that's probably number 0. It's ahead of all this. See my daughters, see my wife, spending time with them. That is the number one place I spend all my time. I put everything else, surfing and gardening, below that because family is number 1. I'm a big believer in that and I love my family.
I can definitely see that. And what would you, and I suspect I can answer this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What would you say a or the pivotal moment in your life has been?
I got to think about that one for a second. There's a few, I guess you have to kind of like reverse engineer. If this one fork in the road didn't happen, you wouldn't be here. So, pivotal for business, right, Leah?
The questions, however you want to answer it.
Okay. Well, I'll give 2. I'll give a personal one and a business one. The first one for business, I probably would not have had the jump start and the opportunities that I did, especially like in my initial local market, which was Malibu, which is an impossible city to start your business in. Yet I did. If it wasn't for a woman named Mia Dinelli, who was the founder of Malibu magazine, when I was 17, she basically met me through the Chamber of Commerce out there, and she was telling me she's opening this magazine, and this is one of these women that's like a make it happen, type A type woman. Like there's no doubt this woman's going to do exactly what she says. She's unstoppable. She's that type of force of nature. And sure enough, she opens this thing. It started out as Malibu Monthly magazine, and it was on recycled paper in the beginning. And this is a long time ago, like 22 years maybe ago. The next thing I know, she needed help designing ads. I started designing all the ads. And then, through those ads, I got referrals for websites that we developed, for clients that needed marketing. Many of the clients I got from that are still my clients 20 years later now. One of them would be Spumoni Restaurants. I've worked with the owner, Nando, for, 20-something years as a result of this. Through that break, I easily got somewhere close to 150 clients. And it was a big break for me into the community where I was and gave me a lot of foundation. And we worked together so closely, me and Mia, that we would be working and grinding till 4 a.m. on ad deadlines. And we ended up getting an office together. And my first office, other than my home office, was with her. We shared an office. We worked together that closely for probably about a year and a half. We actually outgrew the first office, and we got a bigger office together. Then we outgrew each other in a respectful way. She needed her own office. I took the main office. We both grew, and the next thing I know, she became Malibu Magazine, and it became the biggest name in Malibu. She ended up selling the magazine, and then since the magazine sold again, and it's now one of the absolute top magazines. I'm really, really proud of it every day I see it, and it gave me a big break. The second thing that I will tell you, the personal thing, would be how I met my wife. So, long and short, Leo, one day I decided, you know what? I'm going to run a Facebook campaign and test market, and I'm going to just brand the people that live in Malibu near my office and just see what I get. Little did I know, somehow that hit my wife. And my wife needed a website. She owned a laundry business that served a lot of commercial laundry, for a lot of drug rehabs in Malibu. So next thing I know, I guess she had contacted somebody on my team. They were handling the sale. And I don't know what's going on that particular day. I'm just in my office, and I can see who enters the office. And I see this just gorgeous gorgeous Latina woman just walk in. And definitely, it was my type in every way, as she now knows. And she was gorgeous. So I sat in on the meeting. And literally, my wife walked into my life. But it didn't just happen that fast, and nothing weird like that, and nothing but professionalism. I did not cross any boundaries whatsoever. I'm only sharing this is how I felt that I couldn't reveal because it would be unprofessional at that time. But yeah, she was gorgeous. She was a knockout. She was smart. She had her own business. Like, wow. Like, when I met her, I was like, why can't I get a girl like this? Like, this girl's incredible. And the more I talked to her, the more I just was like, wowed. But I just kind of DQ'd her and said, look, professional line. And, I don't even know if she was available at that time. And so I stayed on the sidelines, didn't do a thing about it. A year and a half goes by, and we're still working together, but in marketing now. And through a result of that, there was just a certain day where if your woman chooses you, that's the best day of your life. Unicorn chose me that day, and I was nothing but professional, but wow, she made it clear. And since that very moment, we were in love a week later, Leo. Once that spark really just got triggered, boom. We're in love a week later. 6 months later, we're engaged. I remember one of my friends told me a very funny thing. He said, my friend, you're moving too fast. This is a red flag. And we're having a drink at Nobu, and he's telling me this. And I look at him, and I laugh so hard, Leo. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. All I see is checker flags. And he goes, no! He knew. That was it. That was my wife. And since we've been together 7 years, and we both help out in each other's businesses. We're both entrepreneurs, and now we gave birth to a babypreneur. So, when you know, and in life, so many special moments can happen. And I will say it this way, because there is this thing called the red car theory, which is, if you ask most people, did you see a red car on the way to work? They're going to probably say no. But the funny part is, statistically, there's got to be a red car. You just weren't looking for it. And if you looked for it, and I told you to look for it, you would have seen it. And that red car is opportunity in life. And there's so many beautiful moments in life where if you open your lens and you see those opportunities, you can seize them. And you can make something happen and create that spark. We all have the power to do that, Leo. And, both in personal and business. It's a great thing to do.
Wow, I love that. That's cool. As you know, sort of my philosophy is very much around building a balanced life. Well, how does a balanced life look for you? It sounds like you've got a pretty good balance. Certainly now, since your daughter's been born. But how does a balanced life look for you?
I love this because especially if my wife was watching this, she would laugh so hard at that, Leah. Sometimes we preach it and we know that we should do what we preach. I'm always a work in progress. Nothing is perfect. So, I have great moments in life where I've had the perfect balance, so to say. And like, wow. And it takes so much self discipline. It's actually one of the things I admire about you, Leo, is you've got that self discipline. You are so good at like you are definitely a role model for that. Me, I'm a work in progress, and that's the truth. Even this last week, I look at the last week of my life. I moved into a home for the first time in my life, my family. I'm still running my businesses. I'm still on this podcast of you. I'm still very busy, and to do all that, like the balance is, it's all over the place this week. But hopefully next week I get back to a better balance. And for me, like a good balance is in a perfect day, because I've always like I like to have this vision of utopia. This is a thing from my friend Ryan Hodgson, another great business guy that has given me amazing advice. Is visualize utopia, and then like write it down, and then aim to get there. And, for me, like I think if I could work a 5.5 hour day max, it's a weird number, but 5.5, and then I had 3 hours to work out, do whatever I want, think, walk, just be free of everything. Family, friends, everything. Literally like isolate myself a little bit for my own self-wellness. That's an 8.5 hour chunk of my day. Then, most people are, we could be a 14 to 16 hour day. The rest of the time I spend with my family. I want to be there with my daughter as much as I can. I want to see her every day. I want to be with my wife. I want to love my wife. To me, that's like the perfect formula. But it's not always as easy as you put it out there to be, Like executing it, different challenge, and every day, I'm just a work in progress, Leo. I'm working on it every day. I strive to be better every day. Like I know where I need to go. And that's the most important thing to do is like I know where I need to go. I just, I've got to follow through on all my steps, and I'll get to a better and better work-life balance. But sometimes too, though, I've heard this actually, Leo. I'm going to quote someone here because I couldn't believe this speech I heard one time. And I was at Soho Club Malibu for a State of the City soiree with the Malibu Chamber of Commerce, or Malibu Pacific Palisades Chamber of Commerce. And we had the Los Angeles District County Supervisor, Lindsay Horvath, there. And if you don't know her, she is a dynamo. She's amazing. She's a gem, a mover, a shaker. She's an out-of-the-box thinker. She works hard. And she used to be a business owner herself, and she got rid of her entire business and sold it so that she can do this position in the county. Like, definitely a role model for many. And she's young, too. She's incredibly young. She in fact, was one of the youngest people ever running for this, from what I learned. But I had the pleasure of meeting her. I had the pleasure of having a great conversation or two with her. But one thing that was interesting is she got up and she gave a speech. And the first thing she said about work-life balance, she said, you know what? Everybody preaches about work-life balance. And she's like, I don't believe in that because that just doesn't work for me. And I was like, what, Leo? Like, she's saying the opposite of what so many of us here. Work-life balance. Have that. And here she is, like totally out of left field. Forget that. That doesn't work for me. I don't know about you guys. And then she shared what works for her. She said, look, there is no work-life balance for me. I'm working all the time. I'm very hard worker. I have long days, she said. But I do believe in this. She said, I believe in being 100% present for any person that's in front of me, anything that I'm focused on. She said, so if I'm with my family, I put away my phone. And I'm with my family, and I listen, and I hear, and I respond. And if I'm in business, and I'm in a meeting, I'm not doing something else on another screen. I am there listening and working on things with you. And it's an interesting kind of different perspective that I did appreciate, Leo. I think there's always something to learn from other perspectives, and that was the exact opposite of work-life balance, Leo, that I've ever heard, but the best way I heard it. Be present.
The only place I'd slightly disagree on that is I'd say that is a work-life balance. So there isn't a mysterious, magical formula for work-life balance. It is whatever it is for you. That might be limiting your work to 5.5 hours a day. It might be working long hours, being 100% present when you're at home. So I think work-life balance can look different for everyone. it's about finding what is right for you. There isn't a standard formula.
I don't think anyone has to fit one mold, you know? I think it is important that you customize something to best fit you because we're all very different in a million different ways, you know? So it was interesting, though. It was interesting to hear that. And, you know, I respect all different views of those things and I kind of take it and make it my own, just like you do, Leo.
Well, thank you, Chris. This has been fun. I've really enjoyed having a chance to chat with you and learn a few new things. You know, I think your quarter of a century in your one business as an entrepreneur is quite some story, and I think it's you know, look forward to seeing where. I mean, the great thing is you're young enough that you can be doing it for another quarter of a century quite easily.
Oh, my. Yeah.
And so, just to finish off, tell me, how can people find you?
You can find us at vividcandy.com or just Google Vivid Candy, but we got a trick spelling, so it's candy, but with an I, not a Y. So Vivid, V is in Victor, I, V-I-D, and then Candy, spelled with an I. And also at Vivid Candy on Instagram. We are super active on IG, so if you want to watch our stories, see our reels, see what we do, there's a lot on there going on all the time. And definitely connect anytime, anyway. Or LinkedIn, too, Chris Wizner. So, and it's Wizner, W-I-Z-N-E-R. Not many of us with that last name, so easy to find.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me, Leo. This has been a pleasure. I'm honored to be on this with you, and you're a role model to me. So for doing a podcast with you, incredible. I might have to reverse podcast you back next time, Leo.
Well, it's been fun. I really enjoyed it. So thank you very much, Chris. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right, Leo. Cheers, and thank you for everything.